Can Oregon land USC wide receiver transfer Gary Bryant? Gary Bryant is one of the top transfer portal targets for Oregon right now, out on the recruiting trail. Took his official visit to Oregon, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And, we saw pictures of him and Bo Nix next to each other out on the practice fields. And the thing is, I've talked to a source close to this recruitment with Gary Bryant, and the deciding factor, or at least a main factor in this recruitment with Gary Bryant, is going to be playing time. What does the playing time look like at Oregon? What does the playing time look like at a number of schools? Excuse me, just had to cough there. But playing time matters so much, not even just for high profile guys. Gary Bryant was an Adidas All-American caliber guy coming out of high school, Corona Centennial down here in Southern California, typical powerhouse program. I think playing time is a lot different for guys that are coming out of high school versus guys that are coming out of the transfer portal, because a lot of guys coming out of the transfer portal didn't see a lot of time, or didn't see as much time maybe as they think they deserved at their previous school. So then you enter the portal and you're kind of looking for a sure thing, or you're looking for, let's say, a clear path to playing time. And if you were to ask me, is there a clear path to playing time for Gary Bryant at Oregon a month ago, a little bit over a month ago, I probably would have said it's not clear, but it's looking pretty good. This was back when Trayshawn Holden was dismissed, and the future of the wide receiver room was a little bit murky. I thought that Oregon was going to go back into the transfer portal to get another wide receiver. But, Trayshawn Holden, you guys all know, I don't have to rehash that out. He's been reinstated. He's back with the team, and he looks like he's going to be a big part of the offense in 2023, or at least compete for, a good chunk of reps. So let's just look at what the wide receiver room looks like at Oregon. You got Troy Franklin, who comes back after his best season at Oregon, and really what I feel was his first true season at Oregon. He found plenty of play time as a true freshman in 2021, but that offense didn't want to throw the ball. It didn't. If it was check downs, not really a creative offense through the air. We all know why that was the case. So Troy Franklin breaks out in 2022 in Kenny Dillingham's offense. He's Bo Nix's favorite target. I think my favorite play of the year was the massive 50-yard bomb from Bo Nix to Troy Franklin. You hear Autzen erupt. That was definitely a game I wish I was there for. But Troy Franklin's going to be the focal point of the passing attack. That's what one could reasonably assume ahead of the 2023 season. And then you have Trayshawn Holden, who comes in from Alabama, and he's going to be a contributor. He had some good production while he was over there at Bama. Played against some really good defenses. So he's tested against the best defenses in college football, more or less. And he's got good size, 6'3", 210, 215. So I think that he has those tools, and everything is kind of going in his favor to see the field quite a bit at Oregon. And then you also have to talk about Tez Johnson, the Troy wide receiver transfer. He kind of brings Oregon a little bit of a different dimension at wide receiver. I think that his speed, his agility, his quickness, short area burst, those are all things that are going to make him a really competitive guy in that wide receiver room. And it looks like he's going to be competing against Chris Hudson for that starting wide receiver position in the slot. Chris Hudson has played quite a bit of football at Oregon, had his best season yet, I think you could say, fairly last year, but he did have a couple of drops that ultimately capped his production. And I think that you just want to get him the ball more in space. I think he's that kind of a guy. He's not necessarily your 50-50 jump ball, possession, red zone wide receiver kind of guy, but he's crafty. And I really like the grit that he plays with. He definitely has a lot of toughness to his game. But Tez Johnson comes in and he's like, I'm going to want mine. He's going to want to get his piece of the pie, right? So that's a big position battle to watch for. And then you have Kyler Casper, who's, just this 6'6", 200-pound wide receiver out of Arizona that has kind of been patiently waiting. Took a red shirt last year after reclassifying from 2023 to 2022. And he might be the most gifted wide receiver in that room, at least physically, at least athletically. Have you just watched some of that guy's tape, whether it be on 7-on-7 or during his high school football season out there at Williams Field High School. He was just a dude. He was absolutely a dude. And I think he's someone that hasn't been forgotten about, but I just feel like we haven't really gotten to see him really get a good chance at Oregon. And now is the time. I think that other than Troy Franklin and Chris Hudson, snaps should be up for grabs behind that. And then you have Justice Lowe, who also came over with Kyler Casper, but we didn't see too much of him as a true freshman. But that's a guy that I think people close to the program are confident can take a step forward. He was a late flip from Utah, Lake Oswego guy, very chiseled frame, physically ready for college football, really athletic guy as well. Then you have Josh Delgado, who has been at Oregon for a long time, but really hasn't done a whole lot, hasn't been able to carve out a consistent role. So you put all of that in, and I don't really know how good the path to play time looks for Gary Bryant if he were to choose Oregon. He talked very highly with Greg Biggins about his visit to Oregon, spoke highly of Junior Adams. Junior Adams recruited Bryant when he was coming out of high school originally, when Bryant was looking at Washington, when Junior Adams was still at Washington. So that's good. But I think I have to do a deeper look at some of these other finalists, right? You have Arizona, Texas A&M, Miami. They all got official visits along with Oregon. I think he took an unofficial to UCLA is what Biggins was reporting. I always want to make sure to give credit to the guys that are reporting, because I can't get every interview that I want, but I try to get as many as I can. I don't think Miami would be a good destination if you're a wide receiver, just because we've seen what they do with the ball on offense, passing the ball. So I think this could come down to, Texas A&M or, Arizona. I think, Texas A&M got a new offensive coordinator. I want to say it was Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino is the new offensive coordinator in College Station. So he's a big name offensive coordinator, and fans are hoping that he can get Jimbo's offense, back to being what he wants it to be, because Texas A&M was massively underachieving on the field, especially if you factor in all the big time recruits that they've landed over, the past years or so. So I think that Oregon has an awesome shot here for sure. It's just, I don't know if the snaps are there necessarily for Gary Bryant. But you're going to have a good quarterback. Not too sure what the situation is at quarterback. You could have at UCLA, you could have Dante Moore thrown to him in all likelihood. I don't even think I know who the Texas A&M quarterback is off the top of my head. And then Miami is that Taylor Van Dyke. And then at Arizona, you're going to have Jaden DeLora, who's a stud. Really like Jaden DeLora. So I think Oregon has a very good chance to land Gary Bryant. I wouldn't be surprised if they were to land Gary Bryant, but right now I wouldn't say that it's looking super likely if we are taking into account how much weight snaps play in his decision. So the thing with Gary Bryant, it looks like he has finished taking all of his visits and is probably in decision mode right now, but he did say that he might keep his cards close to the vest and wait until May to go public with his decision. So he'll probably tell his school of choice, it looks like, and then maybe wait until May when the transfer portal window opens again to ultimately go public with his commitment. So Oregon's got a great shot, but we got to see what's going to happen with USC wide receiver transfer Gary Bryant.